So yeah, I hope to keep following this story and not get too lazy with the episode reviews. Let me know what you think below. I'm gonna get going. Later, guys. Signing out. Whoa. This place is trippy, dude.
Welcome. So, human, what do you make of my digital purgatory, of which I am the god of?
Oh, well, giant floating eyeball, which, oddly enough, is not the weirdest thing I've ever encountered on this show. Yeah, it's a nice place you got here. It's, kind of reminds me of that episode of The Simpsons. Remember that one where Homer got sucked into that 3D world behind the bookshelf? That was a good one.
Really? There's like hundreds of science fiction, literally thousands of references you could have made, and instead you went with The Simpsons?
Oh, fuck you, man! The Simpsons were awesome! Well, at least up until season 9, then after that it was sort of like beating a dead horse with a spiked flail, but I think that's more the, the issue with Fox and the contractual obligations that Matt Groening...
Okay, fine, whatever, jeez. Alright, so, look, I've recruited you, Tech King, to become a member of my glorious card game tournament. You will participate in 30 different trials, ranging from easy to Dark Souls. If you look on your wrist, you can see that you now have a watch which is capable of interfacing with the digital world. However, it will take some difficulty before you actually truly master its capabilities to its fullest extent.
Yeah, what if I just hit Control-Alt-Delete?
Wait, no, don't do that!
Oh, well, shit, that was easy. Okay then, I guess I just have to, end the task then, and, oh, okay. That works out. Well, thanks for the magic watch that allows me to enter the internet whenever I so choose. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that in the future. I'm gonna go do a review, but, you stay chill, giant eye guy. You just keep on doing what you're doing. Oh, jeez. Okay, well, hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS Episode 2, also known as Card Games on Hoverboards. Yeah, really makes me look back at 5Ds and think that, wow, yeah, that was some serious shit going on there. I remember when 5Ds was first announced, and of course, I mean, the plot of 5Ds was, like, really solid. It was really good. Yusei is one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists, period. But all that everyone always cared about in the trailers of 5Ds were always like, oh my god, card games on motorcycles. This is just getting ridiculous. And hey, to be fair, standing still and playing a card game, there's only so much mileage you gotta get out of that. But this takes it to a whole new level, because if I remember 5Ds correctly, there was like, well, at least whenever there was like a professional setting with a speed, not a speed duel, like a turbo duel, they were like in an arena, like just going around and around and around, like doing laps in this. This adds like whole new fucking obstacles and shit to these speed duels that are being implemented in VRAINS. Like, this is ridiculous. Okay, so, Yusaku arrives in the VRAINS network, in the virtual world, and I was getting a little confused of, the differences between the real world and VRAINS, because they look remarkably similar. But anyway, you get in there, and he turns into Playmaker, he saves, Blue Angel Aoi, and he's like, alright, now we gotta go duel this, Knights of Hanoi member. I don't believe we know his name, he's just a random fucking flunky of the Knights of Hanoi. He's the guy that has the giant dragon that was wrecking everyone's shit, and the dragon that ate Ignis and left him nothing more than an eyeball. But Yusaku now has Ignis in his dual disc, and he's ready to go, and he hops on the hoverboard and just instinctually yeah, I could just ride this hoverboard on these data streams. Yeah, apparently there's a little thing about him remembering, like, he's done this before. He seems to know how to do these things before, so we're probably going to implement a little bit of the, like, oh, there's things about my past that even I don't remember, that kind of trope into this. We also find out a little bit more about Yusaku's backstory. He kind of, like, reaffirms why he's doing what he's doing, why he wants to defeat the Knights of Hanoi, why he's Playmaker, all that shit. That's at the end of the episode. Now, I'm not used to reviewing Yu-Gi-Oh! in terms of the anime. I'm not used to going episode by episode, so I had a decision to make. Like, how am I going to do this when we get to the actual duels? Am I going to sit here and give you a play-by-play and Yusaku sets a trap card, but the Knights of Hanoi members counters by drawing a card and summoning the cracking dragon, you know? So I figured just to, you know, screw that, I'm just going to give you a streamline of what happens, and since they are introducing a new concept in this episode, that is, of course, link summoning. This is the first link summoning we've seen in the story, implementing the new card type, which I don't even think is out yet, at least not in the English release of the card game. I don't know if it probably is already out in Japan, I'm not sure, but just to give you an idea. So, a few differences. First off, the differences between a regular duel and a speed duel. The only main difference is, of course, it's a speed duel. It's just, you know, shortening down the time it takes to play the duel, which makes a lot of sense when you're incorporating this into an anime episode that's only 20 minutes. So that means we'll probably get a lot less like 2 or 3 part episodes. We'll probably still have those, but now we have a way that we can have a pretty, you know, cool duel scene without it taking up a lot of time, okay? So it cuts down the number of monster card zones and spell and trap card zones to 3 each. Don't really know how that works with pendulum zones. You could still have the pendulum zones there, but if that's the case and you have 2 pendulum zones, 2 pendulum monsters out, then that would be like, you know, only 1 spell or trap card. But we're not talking about pendulums. Pendulums haven't even been mentioned yet, so I don't even know if they're going to make an appearance, if they're just like, okay, we're going to drop pendulums to implement link summoning, and that's going to be like a swap out. You know, pendulums still exist, but that was last season. Let's do this instead. And so pretty much everything else, the field is relatively the same, except for the addition of the extra monster card zone, those 2 extra zones that get added. But, you know, deck, graveyard, field, I don't know how field card zones would work in this situation. But aside from that, it's just limiting the number of monsters you can play and spell and trap cards that you can set and play as well. In addition to that, you only draw 4 cards your first turn, and there's also an addition of a skill, unique skills that you have. Okay, so only when you're doing a speed duel, you have a unique skill that you can activate only once per duel, and the skill is different depending on who you are. It is not explained at all how one acquires these said skills, or if you can switch them out, or who's the one giving them to you, or if it's just randomized depending on your deck, or if it's completely dependent on your deck. I have no idea where these skills come in. The Knights of Hanoi member's special skill is he's allowed to draw once per duel, only once per duel. He's allowed double draw. He's allowed to draw 2 cards instead of 1. Don't know why that's the case. Ignis thinks that it's like, oh, the Knights of Hanoi must have given him that ability. Now, that's an interesting thing, because if the Knights of Hanoi, we don't really know where the whole deal is with them yet, but if we're going to go along with my theory that the Knights of Hanoi are somehow connected with Soul Technologies, and Soul Technologies is the place that developed VRAINS, or at least has a hand in developing VRAINS, that would make more sense for them just to throw shit in like that. Other than that, or they're hackers that can just add stuff into the VRAINS network whenever they can. That actually makes a little bit more sense, you know, that if you do have this virtual world that can be messed with, you know, hackers would be like way more criminal than even they are now in this society. You know, hackers are capable of some pretty scary shit now, but if you had like a completely virtual world, hackers would be like, that would be like a first-class criminal offense, because you'd be able to like fuck with things on there on this crazy level, and that'd be nuts. So maybe it's something like that. The Knights of Hanoi are like a hacker group, and they figured out, like, okay, we're going to give you this special skill, double draw. Yusaku's special skill, well, we'll get to that. So, the duel actually starts, and it's pretty basic. This first episode, I mean, the first duel, you know, for the new series, for VRAINS, it's pretty basic. There's really only 1 monster that the Knights of Hanoi member really uses. The first turn, he, you know, throws out 2 low-level monsters called hack worms, which are actually very similar to I duel with a 6 Samurai deck, and there's a card in there, Elder of the 6 Samurai. It's one of those really weak cards, but if there's no monsters your opponent controls, you can just throw them out like that. You can just special summon them. So he does that. He just throws out 2 of these hacker worms and then manages to, you know, sacrifice them, and summons Cracking Dragon, which is the giant dragon with the common, you know, of course it has 3,000 attack points, and that's the monster he keeps out for the most of the rest of the duel. He has pretty much a bunch of other spells and traps that boost Cracking Dragon, or, you know, like have cracking in the name, like that's the archetype. I guess he has the cracking archetype. I guess you could call it that, whatever. There's also another trap card he uses called Ddos Attack, which I thought that was a pretty cool premise to have for a card. What was it, a spell card? I can't remember. But yeah, it was like Ddos Attack, and how it works is you remove 2 other copies of Ddos from your deck, and then it causes like a certain calculation of life point direct damage to you. So that was a cool... Every card is going to be referencing some sort of like computer lingo or hacker jargon or shit like that. So I'm really getting into that anyway. Probably a lot of references to like video games and shit in the future. Yusaku duels with a Cyburst deck. Cyburst is not the name of his archetype as like I duel the 6 Samurai deck. No, Cyburst is a new type altogether. And so that is something interesting that we're going to be seeing here. And of course, there's a link to the Cyburst, which is that ultimate universe kind of place, the holy land of the Digi world that everyone wants to try to get to. And that's the whole reason they're going after Yusaku, because Yusaku now has Ignis in his duel disk. And there's an archetype that goes along with this, why Yusaku has that, archetype, which is very, not even archetype, has that specific type of card that nobody else has, is anybody's guess. It's probably going to relate back to his backstory that we do not know about yet. Yusaku is somehow connected to the Cyburst, which is why he was probably so interested in helping Ignis escape into his duel disk and all that shit. He really only uses one monster throughout most of the duel. It's the Cyburst Wizard, which is a pretty cool effect. Cyburst Wizard's effect is that it literally just turns your opponent's monster into defense mode, reduces its defense to 0, and then for that one turn only, all Cyburst type monsters are allowed to inflict piercing damage. So the general premise there is, oh, I have my monster with 1800 attack, use its effect, your Cracking Dragon turns to 0 defense, and I can attack you and then deal damage because of piercing. There are a lot of, the Cracking Dragon has an effect that enables it to not get destroyed by battle, so that's pretty much where most of the life point damage happens there. However, the duel takes a turn for the weirder whenever they're... now, keep in mind, though, while they're dueling, they're on this huge freaking data stream just flowing through this infinitely, large digital space, this city. And it's made very clear multiple times, this is like... if you fall off this thing and you die in the game, you die in real life. They mention that a few times. Like, you die in the game, you die in real life. Or there's some mental damage that carries over to your real body, if nothing else. So don't fall off or you're fucked. And so it's like shit appearing in the middle of, like, there's a giant building, and so Yusaku's trying to draw his cards, like, alright, and then Ignis is like, Yusaku, look out, and he's like, I'm trying to pay attention to what if I set my trap card? Oh, shit! And he's gotta fucking, like, dodge out of the way. It just seems impractical. It seems less about card games and more about dexterity, or maybe there's, like, some weird mini-game you gotta do to control the fucking thing, like you're first person, you're holding your cards, and, well, you're not even holding your cards. Yusaku has to, but most of the other decks, like the Knights of Inoi member, his decks at all hollow, so it's like just holograms appear, and he's just like, okay, beep, beep, and then they disappear, and it's like, set these, activate this, all that shit. So you gotta try not to die, and even more so when this huge fucking tornado of data appears. A tornado of data, just flow with it. It's called a data vortex, or, yeah, in the data storm, or whatever you want to call it. And so Yusaku gets drawn into this thing, and then the Knights of Inoi members are like, ah, you are going to die now, because no one can survive after getting sucked into the data storm. I win! And I'm just like, okay, so it didn't really matter what you were playing, if you were playing a card game or not. If you get sucked into this huge tornado and vortex and you just die that way, then, I mean, come on now, really. Why'd you even have to play the card? You could have just fucked around on the hoverboards trying to keep your balance and, oh, hey, look, data storm, boom, and just knocks them in there. But okay, whatever. So, this is where shit gets weird. I feel like I'm going to be saying that every single episode review. This is where shit gets weird. Okay. Follow me on this. Just try to follow me on this, guys. Yusaku, playmaker, gets knocked into the data storm. He's whizzing around like a fucking, like you throw a golf ball in a washing machine. Like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna be able to survive this. Ignis drops the bomb on him like, wait a second, you have a special skill too. Your skill is that when your life points are below 1,000, you can reach into the data storm and you can pull out a strong monster to use. Because the data storm is actually monsters. There's monsters that hide in the data storms. And the greater the vortex, the bigger the storm, the stronger the monster is. So use it, Yusaku. Reach into the storm. And then, okay. So Yusaku, I mean, in his defense, he's about to die, so I can understand, like, he tells you to do anything, you do it. Like, it's like, reach out your hand and do the YMCA song. Yusaku's like, oh shit, well, I'm gonna die if I don't, so might as well, right? YMCA! So he's like, reach into the storm. He's like, okay, and he reaches in, and then there's a big fucking explosion, and he fucking, I gotta do it, and he's like, he grabs the card, and the storm subsides, and he goes back on, like, regular hoverboarding around the city, and the Knights of Hanoi members are like, oh, you know, ah, whoa, you know, that kind of shit. Everybody, like, oh, sorry, I forgot his fucking name. Kiminagi, or Kisanagi, I think it is the, you know, his hot dog friend, the guy that runs the hot dog stand and the purple hair, that's the one who I remember right now. And Shima, the green hair guy, they're watching from the TV. Go Onizuka is also in the game, but he only gets like one line of dialogue, and then you see Blue Angel. Blue Angel actually saves Yusaku at one point. Yusaku falls off his hoverboard early on in the game, and Blue Angel uses her whip to take him off, and is like, you would have died if I didn't do that. Okay, you know, like, just make sure not to fall off again, because you're fucked. Like, whatever. So Yusaku performs the first Link summoning, and this is how this works. First off, he has to bring out the necessary monsters. So, of course, he has like, okay, this magic card allows me to do this, and then this trap card allows me to do this and this and this, so I get everything set up properly. You know, that's very convenient you could do that, not knowing that you were going to have a Link summoning, but very convenient you have all the right cards to get everything set for your Link summoning. Okay, fine. So he brings out another one, I think it's Cyber's Backup or something, another effect monster. So he has actually 3 effect monsters on the field. There was another one that he summoned earlier. Okay, and then a portal opens up in the sky. He flies into it with his hoverboard, and then he's in another kind of digital space with a giant square. And then he performs the Link summoning. He has to go through all this fucking, you know, nonsense techno-babble, like, the arrowhead is confirmed, initiating Link up. So how Link summoning works, and it's actually really simple. You have the Link monster, which actually reads like you just need a certain number of cards in order to summon the Link monster. So in this case, it's 2 or more effect monsters. So if you have 2 or more effect monsters on the field, you can summon the Link monster. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I'm sure there's going to be more complicated combinations you can get, like you need a fusion monster and a synchro and a pendulum, and then you can summon this Link monster. I'm sure there's going to be more complicated variations of this, but this one's pretty simple. So Yusaku uses his 3 effect monsters to summon Decode Talker, which is going to be his Dark Magician / Neo / Stardust Dragon / whatever the fuck Yuma used / whatever the fuck Yuya used. And then that's going to be his trademark card. It's a giant knight, dark. It looks like Dark Magician and Buster Blader fused, and it not Dark Paladin, but like more Buster Blader than Dark Magician. He has a giant fucking like tuning fork kind of sword. And it's also a Cyber's type monster, which means that he uses the Wizard's effect to decrease the defense of the dragon, Cracking Dragon, and then the Cybers. They're like XZs. They don't have levels, they have like ranks. I don't know if they're called ranks, but they don't have levels. So he's able to attack Cracking Dragon, and then Cracking Dragon, he can't be destroyed by monsters that have a lower level, but they're not levels, so that gets destroyed that way. Knights of Hanoi member loses, and that's pretty much the end of the episode. We end out right there. It's interesting to note, though, how the effects of certain Link monsters work. So, on the card art, surrounding the card art here, now just pick out an example. What am I going to be using for an example? Cataster. Okay, so right around the area where the picture is, there are a bunch of arrows. So there's going to be an arrow to the, facing up, and then left, right, and then down, and then there's arrows on each of the corners, right? So there's a total of 9 of them, right? So, or 8, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, man, 8. I can count. So anyway, depending on how you have the Link monster positioned, either attack or defense, the arrows are going to be pointing at different things, and whichever arrows are actually, like, physically pointing at the other cards on the field, that's what gets affected by the effect of the Link monster. You get it? So if the Link zone is here, the extra monster card zone's here, and then another monster card zone is here, and then you play the Link monster, and there's an arrow facing down, then that effect affects this card. But if you switch it into defense mode, that down arrow would now be facing over here, and it doesn't affect that anymore. In the case of Decode Talker, there are 3 arrows, and I guess it depends on how many cards you actually link to the link summoning that is how many arrows, because it says 2 or more effect monsters. Yusaku uses 3, and 3 arrows light up. I don't know if you're allowed to choose which arrows on the card out of the 8. I don't know. I would assume you would for your advantage, but it's an interesting concept. It's something different, not even just beyond, like, the summoning aspect. Actually, when you get it on the field, there's some things you gotta pick, like which arrows you're gonna select and how you're gonna position your card, depending on, like, okay, this link monster has a higher defense, so I'm gonna want to make sure to make these arrows here, here, and there to make that make sense, because I'm not gonna be keeping it in attack mode too much. That kind of shit. I guess it's kind of interesting. It's kind of unique. I really like this episode. It's just the hoverboard shit just seemed kind of like, okay, this is gonna just, unless you're gonna do something cool with it beyond just, like, every duel they have to actually keep their eyes on what they're about to hit. I mean, if you're gonna do something cool with it beyond that, then go for it. But if you're just gonna have that one thing over and over again, like, all right, I gotta draw. Oh shit. Okay, I gotta summon. Oh, gotta go up. Oh, gotta go under. Oh, there's a bridge. Oh, there's this. I gotta dodge. I gotta be playing this hoverboard minigame while playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Do something else clever with it, I'll be fine. It's only the second episode. I'm not gonna bitch and complain that the hoverboard shit was stupid, because I didn't think it really was. Ridiculous, maybe, but like I said, Yu-Gi-Oh! It's been around for a while. Just, you know, I mean, people would complain about it, like, maybe they could just sit on the ground and duel. There'll be plenty of those. I'm sure there'll be plenty of those, too. Not every single duel in 5Ds was a turbo duel. But you know what I mean. You know what I understand here. Yeah, so I liked the episode. I hope you guys did. Hopefully be back here next week to talk about that. So, I'm gonna use my new magical wristwatch thing now to go and better mankind by becoming one with the internet. I could be the guy to clean this place up, get rid of all the trolls, and make the internet a better place. I'm gonna go enter some porn websites. Have a great day, guys. Tekking signing out.